The Real Hustle Podcast.
Hey everybody, Mark McKenna. Welcome to The Real Hustle. Today we have a special guest, Dawn Kaplan, as I know her from Cherokee High School. Dawn Pissarro down in the south end of town where my wife's from, out in the lakes. Dawn, thanks for coming on as a guest today. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you for having me.
So I want to say, Dawn was a little nervous today coming in. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. You know, I call a spade here. So we're going to talk about, you know how I like to do those features about women who win, coming from the background. Everybody knows the story about what a strong person my mother was. So, you know, we like to feature people, especially females who have like a great story. So, you know, we're going to dive into some things. So, class of Cherokee 91,
91,
right?
yeah.
91. So after you graduated from Cherokee, did you have any idea what you wanted to do, or you just had a couple colleges you wanted to go to?
I was pretty set on, I knew I wanted to go to Trenton State.
Trenton State, for all you new guys, that's College of New Jersey, the fancy terms.
Yeah, the fancy terms. I knew I wanted to go to Trenton State from the get-go. Knew I wanted to stay local since I've never lived anywhere else but Marlton. Didn't want to go too far.
That seemed to be what everybody did in the 70s, 80s, and
early
90s. We didn't leave because we didn't see how amazing these colleges were online. So everybody just went like 40 minutes away. We didn't want to be far away from our comfort zone, unlike today's kids.
Right.
So you go to College of New Jersey, and then you just about, what was your major?
I was psychology.
Psychology major. You're towards the end, and light goes off and says,
I want to go to law school.
I want to go to law school. And then she went to the finest law school institution ever, and that was at?
Widener University.
Widener University, all-time leading tackler, Widener University, right here.
Get your plug.
Yeah, I got my plug. I smile every time I say that. So you go to Widener Law. That was at the Brandywine campus, right?
Yes, in Delaware.
So you graduate, what's it, 2.5 years, 3 years?
3 years.
3 years for law school. You graduate, you come out. Did you have any idea what type of law you wanted to practice?
I knew from the beginning I really wanted to do family law. But
really? You knew that right from the get-go?
Knew right from the get-go. I like people. I like to interact with people. I like to help people. That's my personality. Kind of a fixer.
So we're gonna fast forward a hair and then we'll come back. So what's the name of the firm right now that you're
Weinberg, Kaplan, and Smith.
Weinberg, Kaplan, and Smith.
Yes.
So she's
in the middle.
In the partner, right in the middle. So you get out of law school. You know you want to get into family. Did you jump right into family law?
No, I started doing workers' compensation first for a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how was that?
Not a lot of fire.
Not a lot of fire.
Didn't feel like I was making a difference at the end of the day, which was probably the biggest thing to me.
Okay. So being a real estate agent, I know that 50%, I would say, 40 to 50% of my work is divorce work. Okay. So I know how emotional divorces are. So what I couldn't imagine is every day dealing with people going through divorces. So, because it's gotta eat at you. Like some days you gotta come home and want to be like, ugh. So kind of tell me, like, why did you want to go in that direction? And
I think the main reason I wanted to go in that direction is I really enjoy people. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy hearing their story, where they came from, where they're going. A lot of stories. I have a lot of stories. When this doesn't work out, maybe I'll write a book someday without any names. But I really enjoy just interacting with people. And every day in family law is different because no two marriages are the same.
Nope.
No two children are the same. They all have different issues that you're dealing with. And unlike workers' compensation, when I would go home at night, I liked what I did. I didn't love it. I can actually say that I truly love what I do, and I'm blessed that it's my own firm.
But don't you find it amazing about the different sides of stories that you hear? Like when I go on a listing appointment, I got a divorce situation. From what
I always preface that in advance of the referral.
I'm like, it's like it's a totally different story. I'm like, I don't know usually I could figure it out, but it's like a lot.
It's a word that we like to use a lot of times is perception.
Okay.
A lot of people perceive that they're happily married when the other party perceives that they're not. So while it's two sides and we hear it all the time, somewhere, the truth lies in the middle. But with the level of emotion that we deal with, somebody's perception in their mind, it's real. And you've got to learn how to value it, but guide them through seeing that it might not be 100% correct.
It's always, when you talk to people who go through a divorce, it's probably one of the toughest things that you'll do in your lifetime.
Yes, absolutely.
It's no one comes out a winner. Sometimes they do, it's just not meant to be, I would assume, right?
Yeah, and again, it's a perception. I don't think that anyone should ever walk away feeling that they've won. It's just not the way it works. Divorce in and of itself is, you hate to say it, is its own failure.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really for the parties to decide how much of an effect they want this divorce to have on themselves and, more importantly, on their children.
So you get out of workman's comp.
Yes.
Who's the first firm you go to work with?
When I started family law?
Yeah.
Adenofi and Spivak. It was Adenofi and Spivak.
Okay.
It's changed names since then, but in Haddonfield.
So how long were you there?
I was there for a short period of time because then I took a little bit of a break to start having a family.
Okay. So you had two, correct?
Two. Yes.
So you go break, and then you went back to work. And
I switched firms at that point.
What was that? Judy?
Judge Charney.
Judge Charney.
Judge Charney. Yes. I was
Love
at her.
her.
I was at her.
She's tough. She's tough. Get you on the phone. She'll get right to the point. Been in that position many times.
So I was there for many years, probably about 9 years with her firm, and that's where I met Amy Smith.
Okay.
And
wonderful person, by the way.
Yes, my partner. She's like family, and we just hit it off from the get-go. We looked at cases the same way. We looked at how to resolve the cases. We knew that you had to make clients realize it's very hard in what we do because we're being paid for this service. But to us, they really were just so much more than, a number on their file. Mm-hmm. And it's really hard to be able to translate that to someone when they are paying you, but you truly do care about what they're going through and you understand it, as trivial as it is, because in their moment, it's relative. It's all about, what's relative in their moment versus somebody else's moment in time.
And I'm sure, when someone's going through a divorce, you're probably at that point in time, you're one of the most important people.
Yes.
And because some people might have support from family, others don't, and then
it's also a very private thing.
Yes.
So even when people do have the support of friends and family, because as I said in the beginning, it's a failed marriage, and some people are embarrassed. Some people just don't want to share. People are afraid of being judged.
Yeah.
And unfortunately in this world, everybody's judged every day.
No one's judgy, especially in New Jersey. People don't judge. They accept you for who you are.
So in that sense, in my first consultation, I will tell someone, have you met with other people? And they kind of look at me and I said, you've got to meet with other people because you've got to tell me very private things. You have to be very raw with me. And if you're not comfortable, I respect that. You have to be comfortable because some days I'm going to be an attorney. Some days I might be your friend.
Mm-hmm.
Might be an expensive friend, but
yeah.
I can be a friend. And some days I'm going to be a little bit of a therapist, which is why I went originally into psychology, thinking that was kind of the route I wanted to head.
That's funny because in our world too, major psychologists we talk getting people over humps. I don't care if they're going through a divorce or not.
You do the same thing in your field.
It's unbelievable. It's really, it's part of the equation that a lot of people struggle with. They can't understand how to get through certain points and talk people off a ledge and relate to them at that level. So, for all you salespeople out there who are listening. So, when you're a lawyer you always have to be a psychologist. You got to understand, and you got to bring people close. They got to know you care.
Yes.
All right. If they think you don't care, then you lose them. away.
I learned that very early on, given the area of practice that I chose to go into, that if you don't love what you're doing, and I'm not saying I love divorce, I love what I do for someone that's going through a divorce.
It's not what you told me earlier. I love when people get divorced. No, I'm teasing.
But what you have to understand, though, is they're looking at you too. And if they don't feel that you are passionate about what they believe in and what's important to them, they're going to see right through you. So I've always said, and to new attorneys as we bring them on and expand the firm, you can't muddle through being a divorce attorney. You can't say, well, I sort of like it. You have to be all in, because
and you gotta,
our clients are going to know.
It seems like you got to be really upfront and just level with people.
Sometimes there's a lot of tough love.
Yes. I mean, I would imagine, because some people probably have some jaded expectations. They come in, I'm going to get this, I'm not giving this away, whatever. And you got to sit them down and be like, hey, in my experience, right? Has that happened
and
a lot?
that's the most important thing. And, I explain to them, they have friends that are going to tell them what they want to hear. I'm going to understand they don't want to hear it, and I'm there to listen and let them vent. But you have to set realistic expectations. That's kind of one of the biggest things that people don't understand in this area of practice. It's so emotional already. And if you let a client believe too early on something that just isn't going to happen, or it's not going to play out that way, or it's very unlikely, it's really hard to bring them back from that.
Again, for all those salespeople, especially my salespeople out there, she said something that I always say: setting realistic expectations.
Always.
Right? You have to. You set yourself up for failure if you don't do that, okay? Because then you go back. So remember the first time we met, when we talked about setting these expectations, this is exactly what we talked about, okay? So I don't care, again, what you do for a living. And when you're dealing with clients and you're trying to service them, it's the most important thing.
Absolutely.
Besides telling them the truth and let them know what's happening.
Yeah, and people want to know. They want the knowledge. And, there's been times where maybe I haven't, I lost a client because I was I was honest, a little tough love.
I've lost a lot of clients because they thought I was a little too direct. But at the end of the day, you feel good about it because you told them the truth and you were honest about it. You don't want to paint this rosy picture, and it's not even close to what's going to happen.
No, and I wouldn't say, 100% of the time, but a good percentage, those people find their way back. And I'm never the type to say, I told you so. They're already in an awful situation, but that's almost what it becomes.
Yeah.
And you feel bad. So I always say, go out, talk to other people, interview other attorneys, because that's what it is. Consultation, you meet for that first time. They're, I'm listening to them, but they're interviewing me in a sense. And I never want to promise something that I can't deliver.
So you're at with Charney for 9 years.
9 years, yeah.
You and Amy decide, all right, I think we're going to do this ourselves.
Yes.
Okay. So, and no BS.
I wish Amy was here to talk about it.
Like, were you shitting your pants going in and like, oh my God.
That's why I wish Amy was here. Yeah. I've got some stories, but maybe that's for another day.
We got to pay for office. Like, people don't realize, just because you don't have a giant restaurant or a big store with all kinds of merchandise, the overhead is expensive. Okay. And when, you start your own business, and you're like, all right, the first $45,000 a month pays salary and rent, and you're like, oh, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
And then you're like, and another, and you're just looking at things, and some people it motivates, and other people like crawl up in a ball and quit. And
no, we were very motivated, but we realized very fast that while we were good attorneys back then, because it's going back to 2012. We weren't necessarily businesswomen. So while we were able to stand up in court, do our job, but to come back and kind of put it all together and keep it running, knowing as you bring people on, you're responsible for their livelihood.
Correct. So a lot of back office stuff with people. It goes to show you, like, same thing, like I always relate that to a contractor. Guy could be the greatest contractor in the world. But man, they can't run a business.
No.
Right. So that's a that's a skill set.
It took a lot of years.
So did you do that yourself, or did you hire someone to come in and help manage the business?
At different times, Amy and I had different people that we utilized to help us, and not because I'll get in trouble if I don't give a plug to my other partner, Michael Weinberg, but he didn't join us till 2019.
Okay.
So the early years, it was Amy and I. So when I reference that, I don't want to leave him out.
All right.
I will hear about it. We hired different people. We brought in people to do our bookkeeping. We even hired a life coach at one point.
Yeah, smart.
To kind of guide us, because we just really had no knowledge. You just think, well, just hang out a shingle and it'll happen.
So again, another nugget today. All right, 2 successful divorce attorneys bring in another partner, hired a coach. Okay, me have a coach. I have my call this morning at 8:30. Had a coach since 2023 years. So when you're struggling, you're plateauing, or you know something's going wrong, you need to go to somebody who's going to help you get to the next level.
Yes.
If not, you're just going to be treading water, and at the end of the day, you're probably going to fail, because I think what happens to people like that is their ego gets in their way, and they think they can get through it, and they actually can't. So, I mean, that's awesome that you guys did that.
Yes,
That's
and
good
every
stuff.
day, Amy and I talk about it, even with Michael. I still wake up and I have to take a moment to realize that we built this firm, because it was something that I had never even really contemplated or thought was possible.
So how many attorneys do you have now?
Right now, we are 6 attorneys.
6 attorneys, and how many staff people?
We have 7.
7. All right, so there's 13 people.
Yes.
It adds up. Quick.
It does. It adds up quick. It's a lot of different personalities in one office.
The HR and kind of back office
Yes.
stuff, and figuring out who's what, and keeping everybody happy, and, always worried about, who's going to stay and who isn't, and training people and different things.
And that is one thing.
Have you had turnover?
We've had turnover, but very little turnover.
Okay.
And Amy, Michael, and I really pride ourselves on that we don't believe people are always replaceable. They are, but are they really? And getting back to, having a business model. If you haven't surrounded yourself with good people, you're only as strong as everyone in that office.
That's
so
right.
We always talk that WKS, we are a team, and we need somebody answering the phones. We need someone, that's a legal assistant. You've got paralegals. It's all of us together that
gets the wins.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, and, you get out of people what you give them. So when you treat them right, and you appreciate what they do, so and obviously you have to pay them well, then they're going to go the extra mile for you.
Yes.
No questions asked. I mean, that's probably so important.
When you have people, especially when it is a boutique firm like we have, and we have clients that need a little extra hand-holding and need even the staff to care. Once you have those people, you don't want to lose them.
Even the
fortunate.
person who just answers the phone, having that warm, friendly. I mean, it goes down the whole food chain.
We get compliments all the time. Give my shout out to Courtney about what a pleasure she is to deal with, how calming her voice is when they call in, and they look forward to that voice when they have to call again.
Yeah, it's awesome. And it all talks about like having a great experience. I mean, think about that. Like I equate that when I was at Penn and I was dreading going down for my treatments, I couldn't believe the level of customer service. Like I rave about that place. Like, and I was dreading going out. I was like sad at the end. Like I had all those people became my friends, and
Right.
And even going through a traumatic divorce situation, and the people always remember that.
They do.
They remember it. They remember how you took care of them. And then what happens when they have a great experience? They refer people in.
And that really, when people say, where do you get clients from? I think our biggest referral source is prior clients.
Correct. I mean, that's how small businesses are built. Okay, they're built on great customer service. So again, for a lot of our realtor and salespeople friends on there,
Yeah.
so like even when you have a problem or a transaction that doesn't go as well as you thought it should, there's doesn't hurt to reach out to somebody. I'm gonna tell you a quick funny story.
I love funny stories.
All right, so I run a little crazy all the time, and about 2 weeks ago,
I didn't know that.
I was out in front of this house, and I walk in, and I always like to go right on time, and I got there early, so I was on the phone making calls, and I hang up, and I knocked on the door, and the daughter comes to the door, answer phone, and she pulled the door, and I pulled in, and I walked in, I'm like, hey, she's like startled. I was at the wrong house, okay? So I was like, oh, shit, right? And I backed out, and I was like, oh, my God. And it was 5 doors down. It was the same color house, same kind of house, because I was doing too many things at once. Well, I get back to the office, and I sat down, and my Facebook's blowing up with a messenger. It's an irate father. I'm like, ugh. He found that it was me. The neighbor saw my car, knew it was me, and I'm like, ooh, right? So I apologized up and down. And then I sent him a nice chocolate basket and for the girl, and I went out of my way to win that person over. Mm-hmm. And I really felt like terrible. I mean, I have young kids, and well, not anymore, but, I wouldn't want that happening. And, we won him over because I make sure that I gave that guy the right customer service because he potentially could be a client. Yep. But you got to go the extra step. You turn in someone who wanted to choke me out. We talked, and I might use him to do some construction because he's a contractor. So that's wonderful. That's awesome. But they're the kind of situations you have to overcome and win. And no one thinks like it's funny. Like you built your whole business. You guys advertise a lot.
We do.
I see in some of the local magazines. You don't go bananas like some of these firms. Just like are all over. I got to tell you something too. Like, I don't know what's happened in the legal world, but billboards with attorneys are just. Over. I mean, I think of that Morgan and Morgan just changed the whole game. Yes. Like how they spend money, but it seems to me like the smart business plan is to build your business based on referrals.
It is, and that's why I think it's so important that any interaction you have with someone, particularly with what I do or what you do, mm-hmm. Everybody knows somebody getting divorced. Everybody Correct. Knows somebody buying or selling a home. Mm-hmm. And it's really important just, any interaction you have, don't just judge someone. Get to know them, talk to them. When you do something crazy like that, you own it, you apologize. Yeah. You understand their feelings. In their moment in time, that was the worst thing that could have happened. Even if you may say, oh, somebody's overreacting a little bit or underreacting, we have all the time. Mm-hmm. But in that moment, what's relative to them is that issue.
All right. So I'm going to ask you, because I always like these crazy questions. What's the dumbest thing you've ever seen someone fight about?
Dumbest thing?
Because I got one I know someone who got divorced, and it's kind of relevant right now.
See, it's very hard in what I do.
I shouldn't say dumb, but like fighting over something really small.
Trivial.
Like a piece of, like a belonging.
And that's probably what it comes down to, personal property.
Yes.
It's not that it's dumb, but
that's my word. That's not Dawn Kaplan's word. That's me being
and that's where we really try to guide clients, because it is our firm, and Michael, Amy, and I look at things the same way. Yes, everybody, it's a job. It's how we make a living. We have to be paid.
All right. So what humored you? What's one of the funniest things that you guys? You probably still have a joke, like a laugh about it once in a while, because I know someone who's very close to me, and they fought about their season tickets for the Eagles.
People have done that. Yes.
Like it was.
That's kind of important, don't you think? In light of where we are, but
there was 4 tickets. Okay, 2 were for his brother-in-laws, who he would have had to sit next to forever, and he had 2. And they bought the PSL was all on the brother-in-laws, and he wasn't smart enough to get the PSL in his name, and that ate him up, and he never got the tickets. So he still talks about it. I should have got my damn tickets.
And some people do. They get fixated on one thing, and to some people, principle is worth fighting. And it costs a lot of money, though, to stand on principle at times.
I gotta love how strong Dawn is on this. She won't give me an answer. What's her one thing that she's afraid someone's listening?
That it's been their issue.
That's been their issue.
And they're going to say, that was me.
My God. Well, there you know. She's a vault, even with me. Maybe I'll pour her a glass of tequila and she'll tell me.
That is the tough part of my job. You can't really share all the funny stories.
That's good. That's awesome. But it's probably something like I hear a lot of it. And when I'm in the houses, they tell me, and I'm like, and then I go home and I think, man, my life's really boring.
Well, and I think the same way you do it, you're dealing with people that are selling a house, they're still in the house, regardless whether they're getting divorced or not. I deal with people getting divorced, living together. They don't have space, and when that happens, they sort of lose that clarity that even when they take a step back at the end, or it comes a time when the house sells and they live separately, they look back and go, was I really arguing over that? Were we really fighting about that?
They're just caught up in it.
And it's just a level of emotion and it's the hard thing when people go through divorce or custody or,
custody's got to be brutal sometimes.
Because that really is an area where when there are true concerns, there's no level of compromise. There's no meeting in the middle when you're fighting for your children's safety, their welfare, what you ultimately believe as a parent that you're right. And you've got someone on the other side that's a parent thinking they're absolutely right. Yeah. It's hard.
So someone who's out there who's not sure what's going on and potentially thinking about, what would be the best advice that you would give to somebody who's been married for 25 years. I can't say that because it sounds like it's me. For someone who's been married for 10 years and just thinking...
And you're not welcome in our office.
I'm not allowed in there.
No.
Okay? First of all, they would side with my wife for everything because everybody loves her more than me. Shannon's everybody's favorite. They know me. And they're like, oh my God, how did you marry her? She's awesome. Like, how'd you pull that one off? I said, I got some good jokes. I could tell you that. So... what advice would you give to someone who's out there? So, they're in a difficult situation. They come in and talk to you. What would you tell them?
Ask a lot of questions. Have that consultation. Yeah. See what it's going to look like. Because, again, the grass isn't always greener on the other side.
That's a great point. Everybody listen to that.
I do divorce every day or some facet of it. And people deserve to be happy at whatever age they are. And there's times when the decision is to move on and make some changes. But the most important thing is really just like anything else. Ask questions, understand what it looks like. Don't ask your friends because, as I said when this first started, everybody's marriage is different. Everybody makes different money. Everybody has different children. Everybody has different assets. So the package is always going to be different depending on the two people you're talking to at the end.
Yeah, and I've been in that situation. I mean, literally hundreds and hundreds of times. Someone's going through a divorce. I go through. We're getting ready for a walkthrough. I mean, they're just devastated. They're selling their house. I mean, literally,
two of the worst
I'm sure you said, tears are flowing, and I've had some really difficult conversation. I'm like, listen, you're gonna look back on this in 3 or 4 years because you think it was the end of the world, and then I find these people. 2, 3, 4 years later, they couldn't be happier.
True.
I mean, they're like, "Oh my God, you saw me at my lowest point."
Yes.
And you said it, and I'm like, makes me feel better. Like I'm like, see, I told you it was going to get a lot better.
And that goes back to what you were saying, asking what's the dumbest thing I've seen or people fight over. I see really, really good people at their worst, which is sad. You see people out of character, behaving in a way they wouldn't because they are either angry, devastated, blindsided. So you got to get them through that. And that's one thing I always tell people, whether they're the one that is choosing to be in front of me or they're being forced to be in front of me, that I can guarantee they're going to be happier someday in the future.
I have this one closing I had years ago that it was a tough closing. And I had to go back at 6 o'clock in the morning the next day with a chainsaw and chop down the swing set at 6 o'clock in the morning to keep the deal together and take pictures of it and send it to the other. They didn't think I was going to do it. It's like me and Jeff went out there. One of Dawn's clients. It was really funny.
Didn't you have to crawl under a deck?
Oh,
too?
I forgot. I had to crawl.
And you're
under,
deathly afraid of snakes.
I had to crawl under a deck in the sanctuary and
what
pull
an awful
stuff out
homeowner.
there. No, it's all good. You know, it's just you got to put things in perspective when you're in those positions.
And it's very, very difficult for our clients to do that, and it's difficult for your clients to do that.
I got to tell you, a lot of people can't, like in sales or what you do. That's why a lot of people don't last in family law. They just can't handle.
It's a lot.
The emotion of it. You see people, and I, you know, I've come home some nights from my job like just wiped out, like just like, man, that really took a lot out of me. It's emotional. You know, I'm not swinging a hammer or climbing on a roof, but I'm like, when you have like tough conversations with people, it's like, woof, like you turn into their counselor.
Yes,
that's what happens.
A lot of times.
And it's like, I said, I didn't see that in the listing agreement, but it's what you do, and again, what we were saying, that people appreciate that. You know, as long as you're real and you tell them the truth, and that generates more business and referrals because they know you care.
And you probably get the same thing at the end of a long case, and people say you keep going back, and it's that one person that turns and says, "Thank you so much."
Yeah,
the person that says, "You changed my life." That could carry you for years to get through all of the other hard clients.
And it's funny, too. I get people who tell me stories like, remember what you did for me? I'm like, no, I don't remember. And they're like, you did this. And
they do remember. And most people do say
and
thank
I'm like,
you.
I did? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, all right. You know.
But see, they remember after we've kind of moved on, because in their moment, they're still not even remembering. And they get to that point and they're like, I got to say thank you.
Yes. So what's the moral of the story today? Go out of your way. Be compassionate to your clients. Make sure you know that you're with them and you're not treating them like another number.
No.
And you just go the extra mile. And, you know, being a great salesperson is two things, okay? Asking questions and being a great listener. Sometimes you just need to be a great listener in order to succeed.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So, end game.
End game.
Firm keep growing.
Yes.
Want to get bigger?
A little bit bigger. Yeah.
We have a lot of young listeners.
Yes.
So if you're in college, psychology major,
go to law school.
Go to law school. You got some thick skin. You can come work with Dawn and Amy and Michael, and they'll rough you up. Make sure you can do it. And that's awesome. So. Yeah. And so what's your end game years? How many more years you got?
Oh, I think I'll do this until I don't do anything else.
Yeah.
I'm just one of those people. And I mean, one of the positives out of a pandemic, we've really learned that you don't have to have the building all the time. So it really has allowed
streamline a lot of things.
Yeah, streamline a lot of things, but it's allowed you to be home with your family and still be working. Mm-hmm. It's not, you got to be in at 7 a.m. and at,
court here and do this.
And I think what it's really helped is it's going to help people want to stay working longer because you can have your FaceTime at home.
You can have a little bit of a balance.
Very nice balance.
Yeah,
it's one positive.
That's one thing.
A lot of negatives, but
I struggle working from home. I just can't get in a zone.
Oh.
And I don't need that refrigerator near me because I can't walk by the damn thing without opening it up. Like I have to, it's like, I don't know what it is. I just have to be in the office.
And with, the kids and a husband and dogs, I love working from home. And in our practice, I may say to a client, hey, are you available at 8 p.m.? Because I'm going to call you then because my house will have settled down. I'll have the time if they can't talk during the day. And that little extra, effort, making it convenient for them, which I think we can do now. We aren't going to say to them, we need to see you 9 to 5.
Yeah, and I think in today's world with technology, everybody expects communication a lot longer hours. I'm sure you get some difficult messages and text after hours.
I have to say, I'm one that gives my cell phone to everybody because what I do, there could be true emergencies, and I have to say that most of my clients, they really do respect it. Right. Or they have a thought and they want me to know it, but they know I'm not going to answer, and they don't expect me to answer. They just want to put it out there.
Shay, we need to talk to Dawn afterwards and get some coaching on that. 'Cause that doesn't seem to happen with us. The old, nothing like the Sunday night at 9:30 call after they had dinner with their cousin Lou, who sold real estate for a year and a half, and he told them we should do this.
Oh.
We call that the Uncle Louie theory. That's what
Okay.
we always call that. But
No, but for us,
you.
we have certain issues that arise on the
That's
weekend, and they need to get us.
yeah, that's great. So, like no one would think, like I like having different guests in all the time, but you could see everything kind of correlates the same when you're running your own business and you're dealing with the general public. You listen to people talk about how they built their practice, and it relates exactly to what we do. Mm-hmm. So, every lawyer in your firm is a salesperson.
Yeah, to some extent.
You have
absolutely.
to bring in business. Like
yes.
When people walk in, it's like a listing appointment or a buyer consult. It's the same stuff. So you need to ask questions and be a good listener, and you're going to get wins.
Yep.
So, and from someone who started just the two of them, now they have 13 employees. Mm-hmm. They're planning on growing and getting bigger and bigger, and just being a better firm and growing every day. It's awesome. It's amazing what you guys have done. So,
we try.
Tell my girl Amy I said hello. I don't think I've ever met Michael.
I'm going to say that you haven't. No.
Yeah, so I may have to come over there and say hello.
Come visit.
We'll have a luncheon.
We're back
or
in full time.
So when did you come in back full time? When did you come back?
We were probably right around a little bit into 2021.
2021.
Yeah, slowly. We allowed people to do it kind of at their leisure because everybody
comfortable
had
they were.
Yeah, everybody felt differently about it.
Some people were like, I know, and they kept working.
But right now the courts are opening back up. More and more is in person. More people want to come back into the office to meet us. Zoom has been a wonderful thing, but sometimes you don't get that level of energy you want to get from someone you're hiring.
I'm surprised the courts don't do, like, they're coming back in person, but I think the Zoom just makes it. I
think we're going to have a hybrid. I think there's certain things like conferences where the parties aren't a part of it. It's very easy to jump on with the judge instead of having to drive. But I mean, we still have, custody issues, domestic violence, those things you really kind of need to be in person for. Judge really needs to see the people.
So I actually used Dawn services one time, not for my personal self. I kind of went through a divorce, but didn't go through a divorce.
You absolutely went through it.
I went through it. Yeah, it's a long story. We're not.
That was you and Amy.
That was me and Amy, and it was not. It was. They did an amazing job. So I saw it firsthand what they were dealing with. How clients react and how emotional it gets, and when you have, I'm assuming if you got two pretty level-headed people, the thing goes pretty quickly. When you get people who aren't super on the same page,
and unfortunately, emotionally, they're never on the same page, which is what
drag on for a long time. And it seems to me, sometimes I see people, do that, and there's not a lot of assets there sometimes. And they just kind of drag it on instead of just, I don't know. You tell me, am I wrong by saying that?
It's the finality of it. Mm-hmm. Some people aren't as concerned about what they're getting in the fact that it's going to be over. It's going to end. They will do things to hold on to the fact that they're still married
just
to this person.
On.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. So if your wife or husband's getting on your nerves, give her a call. No, she's a wonderful story, great success story. I love seeing those people from our hometown and Cherokee High School doing a great job, being a great business person in the town, being part of everything. And thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Any questions? And I tell you, another great episode here. Just a lot of good stuff. And the feedback that we get after these podcasts are awesome. From the last one we had with Dr. Ken, everything, I must have got 25 messages within the first day. So it's great stuff, and he was very appreciative of all the great comments there. Thanks for tuning in to The Real Hustle. God bless, and go get a win today.